chapters in the Upanishad, which some of you are studying with Swamiji. Om Apyayantu mamangani Vakpranaschakshrotram Atho balam indriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam me astu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharma Te Mai Santu Om Shanti 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 Om. I pray to the Divine Lord that all parts of my personality, including the body, mind, sense organs, the prana shakti, vital force, may they all increase and function in perfect concert. This whole universe, creation visible to the mind through the sense organs, is nothing other than the ultimate reality called Brahman in the Upanishads. May I always keep this truth in mind and strive to experience this truth in this very life. May I not reject this truth. May there be no rejection of this truth. As I am engaged in this noble task of experiencing my divine nature, seeing everything as Brahman, may all the virtues described in the Upanishads come to me and reside in me. May all the virtues such as truthfulness, purity, strength, and straightforwardness, may all those virtues come to me and reside in me. Om peace. Peace be within us all. Peace and harmony be amongst all beings, and peace be everywhere in nature. Good morning. Let us continue our study of the teachings of Astavakra. In the previous session we saw Astavakra explains to Janaka how a Brahmagyani, a knower of Brahman, a person who has given up his erroneous impression that he is the body and the mind and is experiencing his divine nature as Brahman itself. That means in the Upanishad it says Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, referring to all individuals. Upanishad says Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, this whole universe is Brahman. There is only Brahman, nothing else is there. But we are seeing many, many things, multiplicity, infinite number of things of infinite variety. So Upanishad says what we are seeing is not real. It is like a dream, which we see many things in the dream and really nothing is there. So Brahmagyani is one who has experienced this, who has experienced the unreal nature of the world, mere appearance, not substantial, and who is experiencing his divine nature as Brahman itself. Such a person does not become attached to anything in the world. Nothing attracts that person, nothing turns him off, There's nothing that affects him, the Brahmagyani, in any way. How can this be done? We are affected by everything. A very small thing that happens in our environment, within us, outside of us, affects us. Sometimes very deeply we are affected by the events around us. What other people do, what other people say, what happens in the world. We are all very vulnerable. We are affected by them. But a Brahmagyani, no matter what, remains unaffected, absolutely calm and peaceful, though there is turmoil all around. How can this be done by him? So Astavakra explains. One thing, the Brahmagyani notices that everything other than the self, Atman, pure consciousness, is an agglomeration of things. Agglomeration means composite made of many, many different things. Like a automobile. Thousands of parts are there. It's not one thing. They are all held together, brought together, held together. They function together for some time. Then what happens? After some time, the parts begin to fall apart. The car ceases to function. That is the fate of all that is composite in nature. The whole world is composite in nature. There is not one thing that is homogeneous or one. They are all made up of many things. Our body is made up of so many different parts. Some of it is held together. Surprising that everything is held together and functioning together so well. Because many things can go wrong. And after some time, the whole mechanism seems to function well for some time, begins to fail, and the component parts fall apart, and the whole thing ceases to function, ceases to exist. That is the fate of everything that is composite in nature. There's only one thing which is not, and that is consciousness. Other than consciousness, which is one infinite expanse, pure consciousness, it's not made up of any parts, it's only one. That alone remains unchanged. There's nothing to fall apart. It's all only one. Always present, everywhere present, no attributes, no qualities, nothing. That's the true self. That's what we truly are. But we are not aware of the truth. And we are seeing multiplicity all around us, including our own body and minds. Our minds are made up of so many different thoughts. The thoughts are coming and going constantly, changing. Much as we like to stay the mind calm in meditation, won't want to bring so many thoughts, keep one thought, difficult. So many thoughts keep coming and going, disturbing. That's the nature of the world. So Brahmagyani notices this. The whole universe is what is called a sanghata. You come across the word sanghata in the 13th chapter of the Gita. This whole body is a sanghata. Sanghata means a collection of many, many different things brought together, held together, and functioning together for some time. Everything in this world, you think of anything, it's not one, it's made of many different parts. So any composite entity made of many different parts, all functioning together, is sure to disintegrate into its component parts sooner or later. There is the fate of all creation. Whole creation, which functioning now, people, animals, plants, things, events, world, this planet, other planets, our solar system, other solar systems, our galaxy, all are changing constantly because all composite. They're all made up of innumerable parts. So, noticing that this constantly changing and inevitably disintegrating nature of this whole universe, of this whole world, the gyani remains unaffected because you can't depend upon anything. Today it is there, tomorrow it is not there. People are like that. Bodies are like that. Today it is functioning, tomorrow it begins to malfunction, and then it ceases to exist because made up of so many different parts. They all function together only for some time. That's how the Jnani says this is not true. Only pure consciousness, which is one, not made up of parts. That I am, no change, no beginning, no end, and free, totally free. No attribute, no suffering, no enjoyment. Absolute peace and calmness. Absolute peace and calmness. That is what I am. So the thing disturbs me, not attached to anything. That is how a Brahmagyani, a knower of the self, who is experiencing his divine nature, remains totally calm and peaceful, unaffected by anything that happens in the world around him or her. Sanghata, everything is a composite, one way. The second way, how a Jnani remains unaffected by anything in the world, does not become attached to anything is world. The world is like bubbles formed on the surface of the water of the ocean. Buddha, he says. Ocean is there, infinite expanse of water, deep and profound. On the surface of the ocean, in some places, a lot of bubbles form, air bubbles form. And this world is like that. Brahman is like the ocean, one infinite expanse of consciousness, and the world is like the collection of foams on its surface, collection of bubbles. The bubbles are very temporary. They form and they disintegrate. They live for a short time. Some are small, some are big, some are floating around, some are collecting together, and they form. How do they form? From the water. Where do they live? On the water. Where do they disintegrate into? Into the water. Their water, they assume a certain shape, different shapes. They float around for some time. They collide with each other, and then they disintegrate, go back into the water. Bubbles become water, which they were before. The world is like that. Everything that we see in the world, living beings, inanimate objects, whole of nature, people, animals, plants, things, our bodies, minds, they're all like bubbles on the surface of the ocean, constantly forming and disintegrating, constantly forming and disintegrating, living for a short time, moving about, colliding with each other. So I'm not the bubbles, I'm the ocean. Ocean has no change, does not change. Profound, deep and calm. Bubbles come and go, they change. The world is like the bubbles. So thus separating the world, noticing its ever-changing nature, its ephemeral nature, coming and going, not constant. The Jnani remains unaffected, unattached, no attachment to anything, everything. All other people in our lives, they come, play a part and leave. All associations are temporary. All possessions are temporary, including our body. We didn't have the body before. It came, it's there, functions for some time, then begins to malfunction, undergoes 6 changes that we have seen before, and then ceases to function and disappears. That's the nature of all bodies. I'm that, I'm not that one. I'm the self. I'm unchanging, eternal, infinite, absolutely pure and calm, immaculate, free from attributes which limit me, and I am that self. Like the experiencing this nature of oneself, a Jnani remains totally calm, peaceful, unaffected by anything that happens around him or her. Another way the Jnani remains unaffected, unchanged, does not undergo any ups and downs in his mind. Ordinary people, we are always, our minds are changing. One moment I am happy, next moment I am unhappy. Sometimes I'm laughing, sometimes I'm crying. Then good things happen, bad things happen. I'm affected by every small thing that happens in me, around me, to other people in this world. No such thing affects the jnani, absolutely unmoved. Because he sees the world as not absolutely real. It appears very real to us. But if you clearly open our eyes and see, nothing is real. Sri Ramakrishna mentioned this very often in his teachings. Sri Ramakrishna said, constantly practice discrimination, viveka. He gave that instruction several times. What did he mean by discrimination? Discerning the difference between the real and the unreal. There is only one reality in this universe, and that is pure consciousness. Does not change, does not come, does not go, does not increase, does not decrease, infinite, eternal, free from attributes, unlimited. That's the only thing that is real. Real means always present, unchanging, eternal, infinite. Everything else, the whole world and everything that we see, that we are, that we think we are, is unreal. Unreal means not absent completely, it is there right now, but it is impermanent, ephemeral, comes and goes, and between coming and going, it constantly changes, undergoes 6 changes. Shadvikara, as we saw before. So that is not real. We can't depend upon anything. Something on which we learn to depend upon, lean upon, for comfort, for happiness, is taken away from us without previous notice. Good things come, good things go. Bad things come, bad things go. Nothing is constant, nothing is permanent. That's the nature of life, nature of world. And to understand the unreal nature of this world, insubstantial nature of this world, the classic example is given. A rope appearing like a snake. Gyani uses that example. What we are seeing as the world is a snake, frightening. But if you really open our eyes and look carefully, there is no snake at all. Only rope is there. Rope is harmless. It does not move, it does not bite, it's simply there. That is reality. But we don't see the rope, we see the snake. It's superimposed. Why? Because of imperfect perception. Our minds are not able to perceive truth clearly. It sees one thing, understands something else. Common daily experience. We misunderstand everything. We don't know how things work. We misread situations and people and get into trouble. We can't see the reality properly. That's the nature of the mind. When the mind becomes pure, free from all blemishes, such as lust, anger, greed, etc., then what we see is what is there. We can see the truth as it is, not as it appears. Until then, we are misreading the whole place, believing something that is not real to be real, etc. So, mistaking the rope for a snake is the mistake that we do. Only Brahman is there, that is the rope, Brahman, in this example. But you don't see Brahman. We see the world full of infinite names and forms, constantly changing, infinite variety, some good, some bad. That's what we are seeing, that's what we are experiencing. That's the snake part of it. It's not there. Because we are not perceiving the truth properly. Our minds are not pure enough to see rope as a rope. We see the rope as a snake because our perception, mind, is not clear. But when we purify the mind, by doing some sort of devotional, spiritual exercise, then our perception becomes clear. We see truth as it is. We see Brahman everywhere, not the world of names and forms, good and bad. That's what the Brahmagyani does. He is not misguided by the world, appearance of the world. So, not affected by good and bad, remains unaffected, absolutely calm and peaceful in spite of disturbances all around. Whereas an ordinary person, every small thing affects us. What happens someplace else affects us here. What other people say affects us. What other people do affects us, one way or the other. Sometimes they do things which make us happy. Sometimes they do things which make us unhappy because we allow ourselves to be affected by their actions. A gyani does not do that. He sees everything as an object, unreal object. A snake is a snake, it's not real. So it appears, yes, only rope is there. That's the perfect knowledge, clarity of perception. So he remains unaffected, unattached to anything. And one more thing, Astavakra says. See, this whole book is a conversation between Astavakra and Janaka. Both are Brahmagyanis. So they are explaining what Brahmagyana is, what does it do, how does the Brahmagyani feels, experience, what does he see, what does he experience. That's what they are explaining. So the fourth thing is, a knower of Brahman is always equanimous, unaffected by good and bad, by pain and pleasure, whatever happens. Nothing affects the person, remains absolutely calm and peaceful. No activity, no event, nothing that happens in the world around him changes anything. In spite of many different things happening, a person remains absolutely calm and peaceful and practices equanimity, means remains equanimous in pain and pleasure, in gain and loss, in praise and blame, in happiness and unhappiness, absolutely calm. We ordinary person, we are tossed around, tossed about. Anything good happens, we are happy for some time. Anything bad happens, we are unhappy, we suffer. We are not experiencing peace. Always some turmoil in our mind. That is the difference. Like Brahmagyani remains absolutely calm and peaceful. Samatvam yoga uchyate in the Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, the essence of yoga is equanimity, samatvam. Remaining calm in success and failure. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. 248 in the Gita. The Brahmagyani is always practicing samatva. Experiencing samatva. Practice stage is over. Experience. Absolutely calm, peaceful, unaffected by anything. Enjoying total peace and bliss. Unconditional, eternal bliss. So that's how Astavakra explains the nature of a experience of a Brahmagyani. Then after that, Janaka begins to explain. When Astavakra thus explained with various examples how a Brahmagyani, knower of Brahman, gives up attachment to all the things which are not the self, non-self, anatma. Body, mind, sense organs, other people, good and bad, happiness and unhappiness, nothing affects that person. Absorbed in absolute peace and calmness, that nothing disturbs. That's what a knower of Brahman is experiencing. Janaka goes one step forward and says that for a Brahmagyani there is nothing to give up, there is nothing to accept. For an ordinary person, people like us, we are given instructions by our teachers, Vedanta teachers. Give up attachment to sense objects. Do not depend for happiness on sense objects, other people, wealth, fame, etc., pleasure, etc. They are not permanent. Give up attachment to these things. Practice detachment. Give up something, accept this truth. Only self is the true, infinite, eternal, pure consciousness that you are. Practice that and give up attachment to ever-changing sense objects, experiences, things. That is what we are practicing. Giving up something, accepting the eternal change of the self, try to experience it, and rejecting the sense objects, experiences, pain and pleasure that the world is offering. So we are in that process of rejecting something, accepting something. But for an knower of Brahman, there is nothing to reject, there is nothing to accept. Because there is nothing at all, only the self is there for a knower of Brahman. For us, we are saying multiplicity, we are saying the world, other people, good, bad, happiness, unhappiness, pain, pleasure, we are all experiencing all these things. We are experiencing the multiplicity. But Brahmagyani has no such. Absolutely absorbed in undisturbed peace and calmness, like an ocean. So Janaka explains this. How a Brahmagyani remains totally calm and peaceful under all circumstances. He explains this with some examples. He says, Janaka says, Akashavadanantoham Ghatavat prakritam jagat iti jnanam tathaitasya natyago nagraho layaha. Natyaga means nothing to give up. We are supposed to give up anger, jealousy, lust and greed, give up these things. For a Brahmagyani, nothing to give up. He doesn't have any of these things. Free from all blemishes, nothing to give up. There is nothing undesirable in that person's personality. It's absolutely pure. No attachment. We are asked to give up attachment to things. But he has no attachment. There is nothing to give up. Nothing. Natyaga. And nothing to accept. We are told to accept this, accept the truth, accept the presence of God. There is no, for a jnani, there is nothing to accept, nothing to give up. Because a jnani is akashavadanantoham. Like akasha means the sky or space, infinite space. Space has no dimension at all, no beginning, no end, everywhere it is there, unchanging. Space has no qualities. Space has no color, it's not green or yellow. It's colorless, it is free from attributes. Ananta, it is infinite, everywhere it is there. Akashavat, like the space which is infinite, eternal, everywhere present. Aham, jnani is like that. We are limited. I am limited to this one particular body, one particular personality. I am this. And we have attributes. I am happy, I am unhappy, I am sick, I am well, I have money, I don't have money. But no such attributes for a Brahmagyani. No limitations at all. Akashavat anantoham, I am infinite. Like this, like akasha, like space, everywhere present. And then, what about the world? Ghatavat prakritam jagat. The world is limiting. Ghata means a pot, a 1 gallon earthen pot. It contains space inside it. It's empty, that means it has space inside it. Outside the pot, there is space. The space inside the pot and the space outside the pot are one and the same space. They appear to be separated. The space in the pot appears to be separate from the space outside the pot, but really not. Space cannot be divided into compartments. It's one unbroken continuum, infinite expanse, space. Jnani, I am like that one, Jnani says. Ghatavat prakritam, this world is limiting, like a pot. Iti jnanam tathaitasya natyago nagraho. There is nothing to give up for this space. There is nothing. Nothing to accept, nothing to give up. Free from all such upadhis, non-self. So, space is unattached, So everything is in space. Everything that we see that exists, all objects, including the sun and stars and the moon and the whole galaxies, everything, all of us, everything is in space. But whatever, though this infinite number of things of infinite variety are in space, space remains unaffected by any of them. My presence does not affect this space. The table is present in space does not affect this space, it remains unaffected. In the same way, the whole world is there in our minds. We create our own world in our mind. We think the world is there and I am a part of that one, I am in the world. No, the world is in me. This Brahmagyani's experience. We create our own world. That is true, literally true. What is my world? I was born at a certain, my parents in India in a certain time many years ago. And I grew up there, I came here, I did things here, and I'm here now. This is my world. And all the people here with whom the good fortune to associate, they are part of my world. Who created this world? Myself. We live, each one of us creates our own world and we live in the world that we create. This is literally true. How did I happen to be born to that particular set of parents in India? There are so many millions of parents having children, but I happen to be born into one particular set of parents. How did that connection happen? It's not a random connection. By all my own karma. My karma, my parents' karma brought us together. And who created the karma? Myself. So I decide in which family to be born. Next time, if I have to be born, by doing what I am, by my actions right now. This birth was determined by my previous actions. And my present actions determine the future birth if I have to be born. So all in my I create my world. We all create our own world. We live in the world that we create. The world in which a gyani lives is no world at all. There is no object. Only self is there. Infinite bliss, eternal bliss, unbroken bliss. The world that we create is full of good and bad. Sometimes happiness, sometimes unhappiness, sometimes pain, sometimes pleasure. This is what we go through. So gyani remains totally unaffected. Like space in the jar remains unaffected by what happens to the jar. If the earthen pot is painted green, space inside the pot does not become green. It remains colorless. If the space is broken into two pieces, space is not broken into two pieces. It remains the same. In the same way, Jnani, who thinks he is not the container, he is the content of all beings. We think we are the container, I am the body. Body, mind are the containers, we think so. No, we are the content, the pure consciousness in the body, that is what I am. But I mistake the container to be myself. That's the mistake we make. We think I am the body and the mind, sense organs. So these undergo change, they come and go. Good and bad things happen. But the jnani does not make that mistake. He knows the self in the space, in the jar. He is not the jar. The space has no qualities. No good, no bad, no beginning, no end. Absolutely free. That's how the jnani remains unaffected by anything. Iti jnanam tathaitasya natyago nagraho layaha. There is no beginning, there is no end, there is nothing to accept, there is nothing to reject for a jnani. That is how Janaka explains the totally unaffected nature of the knower of Brahman. Then he explains further. Mahodadirivaham ya prapancho vechi sannibaha iti jnanam tathaitasya natyago nagraho layaha. Mahodadi means great ocean. Udati means ocean of water. Be a huge, great ocean. Mahodadiva aham. I am like a huge ocean. Jnani thinks. Na sab prapancho, this world, prapancha means this world. Why the world is called prapancha? It has so many names. It's called prapancha means it is perceivable through the 5 sense organs. Pancha. That's why we call it the world prapancha. Prapancha, which is anibha, which means a wave. It's like a wave in the ocean. Jnani is like the ocean, the world is like a wave. So many worlds are there. Prapancha, which is anibha. Iti jnanam tathaitasya. What's the difference between the ocean and the wave? Ocean is calm, peaceful, unchanging, profound. Waves are coming and going, constantly changing their shape. They rise from the water, they move, and they merge into each other, they merge back into the ocean, they disappear. Constantly appearing, disappearing, and moving in the time. It's not constant. Wave is constantly moving, it's not stable. Stationary, it's not stationary. World is like that. Everything in the world is like that. Coming and going, constantly changing. But the jnani is like the ocean. Does not change. There is no beginning. For Brahman, for the body there is beginning. And the middle, and then end. But for a pure consciousness, there is no beginning, no middle, no end, no change. He is that one. Thus, Gandhi remains absolutely calm and peaceful. He says, I, the self, am like the great ocean, and the universe is like a wave. This is self-knowledge. There is nothing to be renounced, nothing to be accepted, nothing to be dissolved. Totally unaffected by anything. And then Janaka explains further how a Brahmajnani remains totally calm and peaceful, unaffected by anything. Ahamma sarva bhuteshu sarva bhutani yatho mai iti jnanam tathaitasya natyago nagraho layaha. He says, I am indeed in all beings and all beings are in me. This is self-knowledge. There is nothing to be renounced, to be accepted, or to be dissolved. Like space, pure consciousness is in everything, and everything is in pure consciousness. So we are not the objects in nature. We are that pure consciousness. That's where the Brahmajnani is different from ordinary person. Brahmajnani thinks he is the pure consciousness, eternal, infinite, no attributes, no good, no bad, no limitations, always present, no coming, no going. Ordinary person thinks I am the body and the mind, which are good and bad, which are pain and suffering, which come, which go, which change. Constantly body is changing. Every moment body is changing. Sometimes pain, sometimes pleasure. That's the fate of the body. Ordinary person thinks I am the body, suffers, enjoys, comes and goes. The only things I am not the body, mind. I am the pure consciousness. No coming, no going, no change, no beginning, no end, no limitation. Absolutely calm and peaceful. There is only the self, even without a second. There is nothing else other than the self to be renounced, to be accepted, or to be given up. There is only one rope. There is no snake at all. Then there is no question of accepting or rejecting the snake. An ordinary person sees a snake, oh, this is not, it's dangerous, I don't want to accept it, want to run away from that one. Something unpleasant, frightening, undesirable, wants to avoid it, run away from it. But for a jnani who sees the rope, there is nothing to be afraid of, nothing to run away from. Absolutely peaceful and joyful, calm. That's the difference between an ordinary person and a knower of Brahman. Janaka explains all these things. Then, continuing his description, Janika goes on to explain that the things that are happening in the world, events that are happening around us, in our life and in the environment around us and in the whole world, any small event or big event has the potential to affect us. What is going on somewhere in some distant part of the world and we are affected by that one. Or what the person living next to me, he says, he does, that affects me. I'm so vulnerable. Every small thing affects us. One way, in good ways or bad. Some things make me happy, some things make me unhappy. The same thing that makes me happy at one time makes me unhappy at another time. So this is how we are tossed around in this world. Not stable, no calmness, no peace. Constantly turmoil in our minds. Sometimes I'm very sad, sometimes I'm very happy, sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm peaceful. Every small event in us, in our mind, what happens, and outside in our body, and outside in the environment, in the society, in the family where a person lives, in this country where a person lives, in the world, whatever happens, every event has a potential to affect the ordinary person in different ways. Some things make him happy, some things make him unhappy, vulnerable. But for a Brahmagyani, nothing affects him. No matter how much disturbance is going on, that person remains absolutely calm, unaffected and peaceful. Even if somebody comes and beats him up, he is not affected by it, that one. For us, we are so sensitive, we are so vulnerable. Somebody so much as say something, not scolding or anything, even something that is not nice about us, we become upset. We want to hear only good things about us. We are so vulnerable, we are affected by what other people say and think. But a Brahmagyani not like that one. Actually, an example is given. A real example, many are there like that one, Ramana Maharshi. And there was another Avadhuta in Maharashtra, in a place called Shegaon, a small town, no, it's a big town. And there, maybe 150 years ago, an Avadhuta lived. Avadhuta means a person who has gone beyond all constraints of the ashramas, gone beyond the brahmacharya student stage, householder stage, vanaprastha stage, sannyasa, everything has transcended, he is free, totally free, and absorbed in the self, Brahmagyani, Purnagyani. Such a person doesn't have to follow any social convention, an Avadhuta. Whether he is dressed properly or not, whether he ate or not, whether he took bath or not, where does he live, under a tree, does not matter. Totally free. When Avadhuta came to Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna's leg to turn. So there was an Avadhuta called Gajanan Maharaj in that town called Shegaon. I happened to go there once. It's a holy place. And he was unaffected. He used to not have many clothes on his body. Just one towel or shawl or something on the body. And he would be always very happy, joyful within oneself. No praise or blame affected him. Whether he ate or not did not affect him. Or what other people thought about did not affect him. And he had a chillam. He used to constantly, like this joyful face, chillam. Absorbed in total joy. That's how his picture, his photo is like that one. What other people did, they say nothing affected him. He would just sit down somewhere and be absorbed in total joy. Not depending upon anything for happiness. I am happy if some good food is there, people say good things about me, I am happy. Otherwise, if a fever or a headache, I am not happy. No such thing for the Avadhuta. Totally free. Always absorbed in the infinite joy of the self. Does not care what happens to the body. So there were detractors as always. Some people thought he was a fake, pretending to be Avadota. He's not Avadota, like that. They were talking ill of him. It didn't bother him. He is absorbed in his own self, not depending on what other people think for his happiness. Totally absorbed in his self alone, totally joyful, unconditionally joyful. So the detractors, they wanted to give him trouble. They hired a few thugs and gave them some money and told them to go and beat this Avadota, beat up Gajanan Maharaj. These people don't know anything. They wanted some money. They went with sticks and started beating him. They went on beating him. Nothing happened to him. He's simply there. You tell them, joy. They are beating. The sticks broke and they became tired. Nothing happened to him. They came tired out. Then they understood he is the Mahatma. They fell at his feet and begged forgiveness and went away. Like that one. That Gajanan Maharaj. Nothing disturbs them. People call him mad, doesn't matter. People call him wise man, does not matter. Sri Ramakrishna like that. When he was doing sadhana, rolling on the ground, crying, Mother, oh Mother, and Dakshineshwar, people thought he was a madman. They thought he was not married, so that's why he is unhappy. Like that. They called him a mad person. Didn't affect him. He went on. Absorbed in the divine, in the devotion to the Divine Mother, nothing bothered him. Like that one. Avadota remains totally unaffected. Brahmajnani remains totally unaffected by what happens in the world around him, what other people think or do, nothing. So that's what Janaka explains in the next section. He says, Mayyananta maham bodhau vishwapota itastataha brahmati swantavatena namamasti asahishnuta. Brahmajnani thinks like this one. Mayi ananta maham bodhau. I am like a vast, infinite ocean. Ananta maham bodhau means infinite great ocean. I am like that one. And what is the world? It's like a boat traveling on the ocean. Vishwapota. Pota means a boat or a small ship. It's moving here and there, itastataha, on the water. Now, that boat keeps on moving, Brahmati. Swantavatena, by the wind, wherever the wind carries, the sailboat keeps moving in that direction. Not stable on the surface of the water. Namamasti asahishnuta. In whatever way the boat moves on the surface of the water, boat is constantly changing its position, moving back and forth, swaying side to side, boat. But its movement of the movement of the boat does not affect the water in the least. Water remains unaffected today. So many boats are there. Used to lake in Chicago, there is Lake Michigan. And so many, in summer, people go there for boating purpose. So many sailboats moving on the water. But the lake remains unaffected. No matter how many boats are there, which way the boats are going, how they move, does not affect the lake at all. The Brahmajnani says, I am like that lake. My ananta maham bodhau, I am a great ocean, undisturbed by what happens by the boat, movement of the boats that are sailing on me. Totally unaffected by anything good or bad. Always absorbed in the joy of the self, Brahmajnani. As opposed to that, an ordinary person is affected by every small thing. What happens to the body affects me. If the body has fever, I am sad. The body is feeling good, I am happy. Whatever other people say, if people say you are a good Swami, you are nice, I am happy. People say you don't know anything, I am unhappy. We are so vulnerable to every small thing. Some event happening in the faraway place like India, I read about the news and I become either disturbed or happy. Something is happening around, I read the news and I become affected by that one. So we are so vulnerable. As opposed to this, a Brahmagyani, no matter what happens, remains totally unaffected, absolutely absorbed in the joy of the self, like the ocean remains unaffected by the movement of the various ships, boats on the surface of the water. Then, the status of a Brahmagyani is explained by Swami Vivekananda in this a song of the sannyasi. So one stanza goes like this in the Song of Sannyasi, which he wrote in 1895 when he was in Thousand Island Park in upstate New York. He says, "Heed then no more how body lives or goes, its task is done. Let karma float it down. Let one put garlands on, another kick this frame. Say not, no praise or blame can be, where praiser praised and blamer blamed are one. Thus be thou calm, sannyasi in bold, say Om Tat Sat Om." That is how the description of a Brahmagyani. Instruction to us from Swamiji, be like that one. Heed then no more how body lives or goes. We are so much sensitive to the condition of the body. A little bit pain disturbs me. Like that one. Its task is done. Let karma float down. The body is all the result of karma only. Our body is the result of our prarabdha karma. Depends upon my past karma, my body is functioning right now. How long does it function? How does it function? How well or not so good? Depends on karma. Let it take its course. Why should I worry? If something happens to the garment, I am not worried about it. If somebody brings a green color and puts green on this saffron color, I don't become green. The garment becomes green, it doesn't affect me. For a jnani, the body is like that one. Just as the garment is for an ordinary person, the status of the garment does not affect the person. In the same way, for a jnani, the body, mind are like the garments. And what happens to the body, mind does not affect the jnani. It remains unaffected. Actually, this is the example given in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, sloka 22, 222, easy to remember. There, Bhagavan Sri Krishna compares the body-mind to the garment we are wearing. Whatever changes happen to the garment, wherever the garment is not affected by that one. If it becomes old, garment becomes old and unfit to be used, it is thrown away and a new garment is acquired. Asamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grannati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. The body is like a garment. If it becomes useless, worn out, ceases functioning, the dehi, the indwelling spirit, puts it aside, takes on a new body, if necessary. The jnani is like that, unaffected. Then, it is like a wave. The world is like a wave. That example came earlier. It comes again and again, comparing the world to a wave on the ocean, surface of the ocean. One more example, Janaka gives. Aho chinmatre vaham indrajalopamam jagat ato mama katham kutra heyopadeya kalpana. For the Brahmagyani, this whole world that is so real to us appears like a magic show. Indrajala means a magic show. In a magic show, what happens? The magician, like David Copperfield or somebody like that, they perform fantastic magic tricks. None of them is real. One common trick that magicians do, they cut a lady into two parts with a saw. They actually see that one on the stage. But actually what happens? After some time, the lady gets up and walks away. You don't really cut the lady every time they perform. It appears so real when this is happening. Oh, she being cut into pieces. They separate the pieces too. That is, the world is like that. So many things are happening, fantastic. Everything appears so real, unbelievably real. Good and bad, pain and suffering is so real. Cannot dispute the reality of the thing, experience that I am going through every moment. But this all for a Brahma Gyani, this whole world phenomenon, the so real to us, is like a magic show. He looks at it, enjoys it, he knows nothing is happening. There is no good, there is no bad, there is no pain and there is no suffering. Everything is only ocean of joy and peace. So that way, how a Brahmagyani remains totally unaffected, absolutely calm and peaceful, no matter what happens in the world around him or her. That is how Janaka explains the status of a Brahmagyani. Now, before I conclude, these are all attributes happen over a Brahman. Brahmagyani we are studying in the conversation between Astavakra and Janaka. But in the Gita, we see same attributes are there for a Sthitaprajna and for a devotee. So devotee, this description of devotee comes in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Describing the qualities of a devotee, Sri Krishna says the same description he gives of a devotee that we read in the Astavakra Samhita, description of a Brahmagyani, description of a Sthitaprajna in the 2nd chapter of the Gita, virtues of a devotee in the 12th chapter of the Gita are all same. For example, a Brahmagyani remains unaffected by what happens, what other people think and do. Devotee also does the same thing. In 12th chapter there is a sloka, sloka number 15 in chapter 12. There, describing the nature of a devotee, Sri Krishna says, Yasmad no dvijate loko, loka no dvijate chayaha, harsha amarsha bhayo dvegaihi, muktoyam sacha me priyaha. A devotee is not affected by what other people do or say, what happens in the world around him. Lokaha na udvijate, does not disturb the peace of the devotee. What the world, events that happen in the world, in society, in one's life and anywhere. Loka na udvijate, he is not disturbed. Yasmat loka na udvijate, by whom the world remains unaffected. Whatever the devotee does not affect any inconvenience, cause any ripples or difficulty for others in the world. Neither do his actions affect the world, nor the things happening in the world affect him. He remains impervious, unaffected, just like a Brahmagyani. Same thing about Sthitaprajna, whether people praise him or blame him, he remains unaffected. So all the people, devotee having pure devotion to God, Sthitaprajna was established in sameness, seeing the divine in all, and a Brahmagyani who knows that he is the self, not the body and demon, he is Brahman, they all have the same attributes. So that is how Janaka concludes his presentation. We shall stop here and continue next time. You're going to demand their song, Kusamji, you want to sing or? Before you begin this song, next week, Swami Nishpapananda is coming from St. Louis, and he'll be speaking next Sunday at 11 o'clock. He'll be speaking on the spiritual teachings of Swami Brahmananda. So all of you are invited to attend. Nishpapananda has been here before several times from St. Louis. Okay.
जय जय प्रभु राम कृष्ण, जय कल्पतरु, जय 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 प्रभु राम कृष्ण, हे कल्पतरु, जय 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 श्री माँ शारदा, जय श्री माँ शारदा, जय विवेकानंद, जय 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 प्रभु राम कृष्ण, हे कल्पतरु, जय 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 प्रभु राम कृष्ण, हे कल्पतरु, जय 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 श्री माँ शारदा, अमर विवेकानंद, जय 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 प्रभु राम कृष्ण, हे कल्पतरु, जय जय। ठाकुर मेरा मोर कृष्ण, शंकर ईसा बुद्ध समाए, ठाकुर मेरा मोर कृष्ण, शंकर ईसा बुद्ध समाए, सब धर्मों का समन्वय करने बन के योग पुरुष तुम आए, त्याग और प्रेम के हे आदर्श, त्याग और प्रेम के हे आदर्श, ध्यान तुम्हारा भी मंगलमय, त्याग और प्रेम के हे आदर्श, ध्यान तुम्हारा भी मंगलमय, जय जय प्रभु राम कृष्ण, हे कल्पतरु, जय जय। नंदी सी माता में प्रतिभा को जान, माँ शारदा सह धर्मिणी पाई, धर्म कार्य में सहचरी, माँ शारदा सह धर्मिणी पाई, कर्मी होया हो दुष्कर्मी, धर्मी होया हो दुष्कर्मी, सबकी प्यारी माँ की जय, धर्मी होया हो दुष्कर्मी, सबकी प्यारी माँ की जय, जय जय प्रभु राम कृष्ण, हे कल्पतरु, जय जय। युवा नरेंद्र की प्रतिभा को ठाकुर ने ही था पहचाना, युवा नरेंद्र की अद्भुत प्रतिभा को ठाकुर ने ही था पहचाना, पाश्चात्य विद्या में डूबे संदेही को भारत के सच्चे धर्म के, भारत के सच्चे धर्म के विश्व प्रचारक की जय जय जय। भारत के सनातन धर्म के विश्व प्रचारक की जय जय जय। जय प्रभु राम कृष्ण हे कल्पतरु, जय 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 प्रभु राम कृष्ण हे कल्पतरु, जय 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 श्री माँ शारदा, जय श्री माँ शारदा। अमर विवेकानंद जय 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 प्रभु राम कृष्ण हे कल्पतरु, जय जय हे कल्पतरु, जय जय हे कल्पतरु, जय